Welcome into Extra Point of Jim Funderburg along with Coach Kevin Klein. And Kevin, I'll tell you what, we advertised that game last week as a playoff type game. It reminded you an awful lot of that Kenton game last year. Back and forth, two really good football teams. It's a real shame you guys couldn't come home with that one.
Yeah, Class Act program in LCC, I appreciate their coaches and their players are just great kids. And unfortunately, we came up on the short end of it. But, it was a game I think both teams left. We have mutual respect for each other. And, a couple plays here and there, and maybe we could have pulled something out.
It was, that was a tough night. It was one of those nights we've kidded about it all year long about the extra points. But man, we just had we had a couple of those early that we had bad snaps on, and that's not even been a problem most of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a frustrating thing looking back at it. Is some of the things that we had struggles with early in the season kind of came back to haunt us in this game with the extra points being one, and then we still struggle. We give up a couple of big plays every once in a while defensively, and we did that. Especially late in the game, and then offensively just being able to convert like 4th and short and 3rd and short, and those things all came back to hurt us. And so you look at it in critical situations, we really missed some opportunities, and that's something we got very short time that we got to fix. Going into week 8, but we still got to fix it.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard to imagine. There are so many good things that are happening really with this football team. There just seems like a missed assignment here, a missed block there, a missed tackle there. And in a game like that one, when you're playing a team as good as what they are, you just really can't have a night like that.
Yeah, and hopefully our kids understand that's where we have to raise our caliber of play to. And looking at things, it was play here and there, and who knows, it could have been a different outcome.
It was a ball game that night that you're always chasing because you were down 9 points. You're down more than one score all the time. Yeah. And that's got to be really frustrating for all of you because if you're down even 8, you can score, you get the two-point conversion, and the next thing you're tied again. But when you're down 9, and especially even late in the ball game there, that makes you almost a little more desperate. That last play when he went for like 63 yards, were we trying to strip that ball at that point in time?
Yeah, we were trying. Yeah, at that point in time, we were not only trying to get the stop, but trying to convert a turnover, make a turnover there, so we had the ball in good field position because we knew that we needed 2 scores to. Yeah. And you're right. That changes your thought process quite a bit. And that's how big those extra points are. We counted them up, and you start thinking about it. Instead of being down 9, we very easily, with extra points in that field goal, we would have been down 6.
Sure.
Or we would have been down 3. Sorry, we would have been down 3 points, and that's that's a huge difference. Now you're talking about just getting in field goal range, and putting the game into overtime. So we talk about that with the kids, and that's just something that unfortunately, we missed those opportunities. But hopefully going forward, we work hard at it, and we fix some of those things. I'm still really proud of the fact I think our kids gave good effort. From start to finish in that game, I think our kids play really hard and play with a lot of passion and play together. And I wanted them to continue to do that. And I was proud of the fact that they hung in there against what was a really good team. That's probably one of the better quarterbacks we'll see all year in terms of being able to throw the ball. And a lot of respect for him and what he was able to accomplish during the game. But it was a good challenge for our kids, and it was good for our kids to see that. You just hope that doesn't keep us out of the playoffs, and ultimately, a lot of our goals are still in play, and there's a lot of teams that can't say that going into week 8. We have an opportunity this week at the league title to get back in that race.
Sure.
We're fortunate enough in that regard, and then we still have an opportunity to make playoffs. And so anytime I think you're heading into week 8 and you're still talking about those two things, you have a lot to work for and to look forward to.
I would think that as you go around the town and you get to talk to Golden Bear fans, a little disappointed after the last couple of years, but man, we've had some fantastic years. Yeah. And we were talking before we sat down today. We started 12 years ago doing these things, and we've seen a lot of 3 and 7 years and 2 and 8 years. I mean, you've got a team still, as you said, that has all your goals ahead of you. And if you win out, you're 8 and 2 on the year, and that's there's a lot of teams that'd be very happy with those 2 seasons.
I think more importantly, we're still looking at it as an opportunity to again get back in that league race. And this week will be huge in determining that, and in the playoff picture. It's not. I always think football is unique in that aspect, is you got to earn the right to get into the playoffs. So anytime you can get into the playoffs, that's pretty huge. And you're right, we went through a long stretch of times where we weren't in the playoffs, and so we got a little spoiled the last 2 years. Sure. And we're fighting right now to get back there for a 3rd straight year, and we'll see if we can't do that.
Couple of guys that I thought stood out to me in some clutch times. Lucas Grimm the other night had some big catches for you when you needed. In fact, the one late in that ball game where he pulled that off in between those two defenders, I didn't expect him to come up with that football, but he made a couple of nice catches for you.
Yeah, Lucas has been a little bit sick here for a while, and Damon Belts has been getting quite a few reps in there, and two different skill sets there. It's really kind of nice because we can mix and match them, and I felt a little bit bad for Damon because he had been getting quite a few reps back there. We put Grimm in. Grimm seemed to be making some plays for us, and we kind of went with him later in that game. And I think Damon and Lucas both understand that, and that's nice when you have two kids that really can split a position and play it well, and each of them contributes different ways.
The Dean brothers hooked up a couple times the other night. That was a whole lot of fun to watch. Zach made some big plays for us on the offensive side of the ball too.
Yeah, I thought Zach had a really good game both sides of the ball. Defensively, I think that's what he's known for. Is he flies around and hits people. For as big as he is, he makes a lot of plays for us and tackles really well in space. And I thought that was no exception on Friday night. I thought he did a good job defensively, and it was nice to see him come through with some offensive catches. I think he led the way for us. I think he had like 9 catches on the night and over 100 yards receiving, and just made a couple really big plays for us. And that's nice because I think a lot of our passing games have been centered around Derek Nisley and Nate Rao, and to get a third guy involved in that, and even Lucas get a fourth guy involved in that, I think that helps us out, makes us more dynamic and spreads out defenses even more.
One of the plays that we might forget in a ball game like that was that Nisley interception that was negated by the penalty.
That's huge. That ended up leading into points.
It did. Yeah. It flipped everything around all of a sudden.
It could have been. I mean, when you really look at it that way, it's a 14-point swing because we could have driven the ball down and scored, and it keeps them out of the end zone. And that ended up being a pretty big call against us.
That was a football team, though, as you said. I'm not sure after seeing the teams that we've played so far, and Delta's a darn good football team. They're undermanned. LCC's undermanned in just physical size as far as the numbers, but as far as the quality skill guys that they had out there, and those kids that played the whole game, it didn't seem like they wore down all night long. They were out there punching right to the end.
Yeah, they had a really good group of kids. Athletically, they had some kids that could really run and had some speed. And like I said, I don't think there's too many quarterbacks around this area that are as good as that. The O'Connor kid was, and he was a tough kid. That's the thing, is we got some shots on him a couple times, and he kept popping up. And for as much as we struggled containing him defensively, he came up and hit a couple times. He plays corner for him too on defense, and he came up and stuck us a couple times. And I'm like, this kid's a pretty solid athlete all the way around. I don't know of too many kids in Northwest Ohio that are like him, and he's only a junior. I think he's got some big time talent.
Boy, he really does. Your guys, again, to your credit, right down to the end. Even when the game looked like it was over, you moved the ball right down the field again. You scored right at the end. Your guys, as you said, didn't give up. They played right to that final whistle again on Friday night, and that's pretty much the way the Golden Bears do business on Friday night. Yeah,
we just couldn't come up with a couple of those onside kicks that we usually get. We couldn't get them. We tried 2 of them and didn't get either one of them. And even with 16 seconds left, we were hoping to get one and throw something down there and make the game even more interesting towards the end, but it just didn't work out that way.
You got the fake punt, at the end too. That was fun to see, and I sat up there and watched you guys shift and put the formation to the top of the screen, and I would have bet you a nickel, that it was coming down the other way, and son of a gun, it did, and again, a good job of misdirection, getting them looking to the top side of the field, and then completing the pass and pulling off that big play. I mean, our guys have been able to do that for the last several years. In the clutch, they come up with those kinds of plays.
Yeah, that was a critical point in the game. And we did come up with a play there, and that was pretty good. And really, Coach Bentley's the one to thank for that. He's the one that has designed that. He takes care of the punt team, and he's the one that designed it. I just called it, and at first when we first shifted, I thought they were going to cover it up, but then as soon as Blues took off, I was like, he's going to be wide open. And then I didn't think Josh was going to throw the ball. We're all sitting there, throw it, and then he did. He dropped it right in there on him, and kept that drive alive, and we were able to convert that into a touchdown.
Well, it was a tough night. It was a hard-fought night. The way it all ends up is obviously not the way that we wanted it to end up, but again, out-of-conference loss. Big Friday night coming up this week against Wauseon. We're going to take a timeout here on the Extra Point, and we'll talk about that Wauseon game right after this timeout. All right, Coach, here we go. Wauseon this week. This is a tough week, okay? I can remember back being a high school kid and having games like this and going towards this game. A whole lot of pressure on both sides of the football. You know, it doesn't matter. Wauseon has the same pressure as we do. I mean, you've got a big game right now this Friday night. If Wauseon wins, obviously they've got all their goals and all their dreams and all their wishes right ahead of them. If you guys win, you've got everything right there ahead of you as well, because you're back in the title race, and you're going to pick up all the points off of Wauseon and be right back in that playoff race. I mean, how in the world do you survive a week like this? How do you get guys ready to go on a Friday night?
Well, I think you just stay focused on the task at hand. You know, we have so much we've got to work on between now and then that it's really hard to think about the actual game at this point in time. You're just thinking about things and areas that we need to get better at, and I'm sure they're doing the same thing. You know, I even heard this comment. I know they probably think back to last year. There's probably a little bit of bitterness there, you know, because they pretty much had us beat last year. We were able to pull off that game last year, kind of escape out of it. And, you know, I think their kids will be excited and ready. And I think our kids are too. You know, I think they understand this isn't the first big game that we've played in. And, you know, I think our kids know what's on the line, and I think they're excited about it. And I think their kids will be excited about it too. So, you know, there's going to come a point in time where we actually get out there and get to play it. And I think that's what people are really looking forward to.
No doubt about that. Good news, bad news type thing. First of all, for my money, you guys have not really played your best football game to this point in time of the season, all right? That's the bad news, but it's also the good news, because if you can put together that best football game on Friday night, what a better time to do it.
Yeah, you know, we're still looking for that consistency factor, just going out and being able to play 4 quarters and play solid defense and play good offense and take care of the football, and special teams, you know, are clicking and going well. And you're right, you know, we haven't done that through 7 games, and you're hoping that you can pull it off for 1 game here. And this would be the time to do it, because we're going to have to play really well. You know, obviously, got a lot of respect for Wauseon and what they've been able to do this year, and just the style that they play and what they've been able to accomplish so far.
This is a football team in Wauseon, and I still say that the league as a whole, and Chase Held and I were talking before we started today, I think last year's Wauseon team, last year's Bryan team, probably wins this conference this year. They were so talented. Those 2 teams were so deep. Both teams lost so many good players from last year's team. This is a football team, though, in Wauseon that was able to focus up, and it looked like they played their best game against Delta the other night. Delta had more yards, okay? They had more time of possession. If you just looked at the stats, they won the ball game, but Wauseon just never let them get close to that end zone past that first drive.
They don't, you know, they're really solid. That's what I would say about them. You know, going into the year, I think we all knew that they were going to have really good offensive and defensive lines. Mm-hmm. And then it was a matter of how well their skill guys were going to mix in, because they lost a lot of skill guys as well this year. And I thought they did. You know, their kids are playing really well. Zach Robinson's done a tremendous job of leading their offense. You know, I think one of their most underrated guys is probably Nate Sunken. You know, I think he's lived in the shadow of his brother for a while, and he's one of those guys that doesn't get a lot of attention, but he's a downhill runner. He's the guy that does all the blocking. You know, defensively, he likes to hit people, and so their skilled guys that they've brought in have done a tremendous job of picking up where that last group left off for them. And, you know, they don't make a lot of mistakes. And you had mentioned it, you know, even though they may have gotten outgained last week by Delta, they didn't commit the turnovers or the mistakes that Delta did, and that was the difference in the ball game. They were just really solid up front, played really good defense, and then, you know, made some plays offensively and got some turnovers and were able to score off those turnovers. And that was huge for them in terms of winning. So I think this team knows how to win.
One big guy that's going to stand on the field is Noah Castle.
Yeah.
I mean, 6'4", 240+ pounds, tight end, big guy. Okay.
Yeah, I wish he was 6'4". He's like 6'6". I think.
Is he 6'6"?
I think so.
That's the first time they didn't lie in the program to the
no,
outside.
he's legit 6'6", so
you know?
He's a big kid.
Yeah.
And anytime you have a physical presence like that, it's tough to match up with. And he's very skilled. That's the thing. He's not, you know, he's not just a 6'6" kid running around out there. He's got really good footwork and really good hands. You know, he knows how to catch the football, and so it's a tough matchup when you're trying to cover him up with 5'9", 5'10" kids, and you're expecting them to match up with a 6'6" kid. And you know, he's one of those kids that I think for every team when you play him, you got to be aware where he's at on the field, just because he's such a tough matchup for your defense.
Yeah. You saw the stats last week, and you go through the play-by-play. He caught a touchdown pass.
Okay.
He caught a pass on a 4th down where they kept possession of the football, which was big, which led to the field goal right before the end of the half. And then the next time they went up for on 4th down, they threw to somebody else. But you got to believe everybody's thinking it's going back to the big guy.
Yeah, I think in critical situations where they've got to have a play, You know, Zach Robinson's going to be one of the kids that's involved in it, and then Noah, you know, because they can throw it up to him, literally throw it up to him at any point in time, and he can go get it. It's just that difficult to match up with his size.
Really is. Well, then you throw in the Coach Cooper factor in this whole thing. I know you guys are buddies, and it goes back a long way. Coop was here, really kind of helped to turn everything around here in Bryan before he went to Wauseon. So you have a situation there on a Friday night where you've got two guys who are, like you two are, friends on Monday through Thursday, well, through Friday till about 6:49, 52, something like that, right before the kickoff. then if you're like any other coach, and two coaches at that point in time, again, you're on the opposite side of the field and you got to coach against one another.
Yeah, we'll focus in and coach our teams on Friday night. But Coop and I, we go back quite a ways, and you know, we golf together in the summer and we get out together, and you know, we have a good friendship. I'll definitely say that. And he's, you know, it's always a little bit of an awkward situation when we had to play each other. But you know, I think he's anxious to get this game. You know, this is one of the first times I know he's coming in, and he'll undersell his kids and everything else on things and talk about how they haven't beaten us in a while. But you know, this is one of the games where we're really going to have to play well. You know, I think they come in as the heavy favorite, and we're going to have to. You know, correct some of the things that we've been doing wrong. But, you know, when it's all said and done, we'll shake hands at the end of the game and we'll walk off. And, you know, I have a lot of respect for what he's done with that program over there and how he's got those kids playing right now. And we'll be friends after the game as well.
No doubt about that. Well, that's the important part in this whole thing.
Yeah.
If you missed it on Friday night, I got home just in time to watch some of the news coverage of this thing. And they had some of the Wauseon kids on after the victory, and they said nothing about how they just beat Delta. The comment was, we're going to be focused next week for Bryan. So at the end of that football game, they were already past that ball game, and they were on their way till this Friday night.
I'm sure. You know, I'm sure since last year when they left the field that they made it a priority. Like I said, you know, I think they felt like, and really we did. We escaped with one last year, and we got pretty lucky. And I'm sure that they looked at it and said, we want to get back and play these guys again. And you know, I think our kids are excited as well. You know, I think we've looked at our schedule and said, we hope going into week 8 we still have a chance at a league title, and we hope that has some playoff implications, and it does. So, you know, I think our kids will be ready to go Friday.
We reached that time, Coach. What's it going to take for a win on Wauseon on Friday night?
Well, you know, they don't make a lot of mistakes. So on our end, we've got to take care of the ball. You know, I think we have to put together some drives, and when we get in the red zone, score offensively. This is definitely a week where we can't walk away without points. You know, or even if that's 3 points, we got to get them, and we got to get those extra points as well. I think every point's going to be critical. You know, it's a team that doesn't give up very many points, so anything you can get against them is pretty big. And then we got to play some field position. This will be a week where, you know, we're going to have to punt when it calls for it to try and keep our defense from getting backed up to the goal line and help prevent, you know, them getting really good field position. So our special teams are going to be huge in this game.
Fantastic.